Hi everyone, this is Julie Bean with Beadaholique, and today we're going to make this really pretty dangling earring that you see here. And this has some really nice elements to it. So it's got a Zola Elements focal, which is this really pretty acetate pendant, and it already has a hole up top, which is quite nice. So if you can see that, it's got all those different colors in it. And we're gonna pull out two of the colors in crystal for this, and we've got a really pretty topaz, and this is by Prestige Crystal, it's a round bead. And then we're gonna do a cube bead to really play off the shapes here. So we've got a round, a square cube, and a triangle. So kind of add a fun modern twist to this, and that's rose peach color right here for the cube bead. So those are the elements in terms of the focals. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our own little connectors. So I've got this chain here, and I love chain like this because if you look closely at it, you can see all of these little segments right here are intact little links, and we can just cut them apart. So for 1 foot of chain, you get so many of these little links. So we're gonna really utilize that and cut this chain apart and not use it as a chain, but use it as little links. And then we're gonna connect some of the elements together with these nice oval jump rings and have a really pretty earring hook to complete our design. And I like the little ball at the base and the little wrapping details. We're also going to be using some wire. So I'm using Artistic Wire 24 gauge, which is a really nice craft wire. It's a good basic wire. It's not too expensive, and you get a lot of it. I've used this for so many projects. For your tools, you're going to need your basic ones. You're going to need a couple chain nose pliers to open and close some jump rings. You're going to need a wire looping or round nose plier, whichever you prefer, and a pair of cutters, and that's it. So we've got our supplies and our tools, and now we're gonna make our earring. So the first step that we're gonna do is we're gonna cut apart two little links so that they are ready for us. So you just are going to cut the jump ring between the links. So if you look at how this is constructed, there's little jump rings, and you just wanna put your cutters right in there. Make sure you're not cutting the link, but you're cutting the jump ring, and snip. And then that will make it so you just have a little link. So we want 2 of those. So we're just gonna cut 2 of those off and have those ready for us for when we need them. And then we're done with that chain. So we could put that chain aside for another project. Now what we're going to do is we are going to make a little link with our first crystal. So to do that, we are gonna take some wire, and you don't need a lot. I'd say this is about 4 inches, 3.5, 4 inches. So that's what we're going to start with. I'm gonna clear some of these tools aside so I have a little bit more room to work with. And we want a wrapped wire loop on both sides. So for the first one, we're just going to start about here and put that in our pliers and squeeze. The pliers do a lot of the work for you. Bend that down, twist your pliers up to the top, take this short end and crisscross. So now what you've done is you've made a nice little loop. Now, what I like to do is you could hold that loop with those wire looping pliers, or you could do what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go back in. I'm just gonna take my chain nose pliers, and I'm gonna hold the loop in the chain nose pliers, and I'm gonna do a couple wraps. And you can decide how many wraps you wanna do. Some people like to do a lot. Some people like to do just a few. It's really up to you, but basically you need to make sure that you're going around at least 1 full circle so that it is connected and secure, because you don't want this to come undone. Now you can trim your tail and tuck your end. Tucking your end just makes it so it's not pointy when someone wears this and doesn't snag on their hair or their clothing or their skin or anything like that. So it's just pushing that tail in a little. Okay, now we're gonna add our bead. So you just slip your bead onto the main wire end, and it is automatically stopped because of your base there that you've already got the little loop, the wrappings. And now what you wanna do is you're gonna create another wrapped wire loop on the other side. So you're just going to grab it where it exits the bead. You're gonna give yourself a teeny little gap if you want to do your wrappings of wire between the bead and the plier. And you're just going to squeeze, push it down, rotate it up, and crisscross. Now, you have to connect your next piece to this before you do your wrappings. So, because once your wrappings are done, it's a nice solid connection. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna open this up ever so slightly by pulling it apart. And then we're gonna take one of these little links that we already cut off, go through its hole, slide it down, and then help it get into the little circle part, the little loop. So you can see now it's in the loop. So now what you want to do is finish your wrappings. So you're just going to grab it with your pliers. Just want to make sure you're not grabbing the new little link, but you're grabbing the loop. Okay, and now you're just going to do your wraps. And just a couple of them, whatever you like. Trim your wire. And tuck your wire. All right, so this little segment is done. If you can see what that looks like. And now we're ready to do our next segment. Okay, so next one, we are just gonna grab another about 3.5, 4 inches. Now this is a little kinky end on it, so I am just gonna trim that off so that I have it a little bit straighter. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight because you're going to be wrapping it around, but you do want it to be something that you can kind of flatten out with your fingers if it's not perfectly straight. Okay, so here we go. We're going to make our loop again. And this one we're gonna do ever so slightly different, and you're gonna see here in just a minute what I mean. Okay, so put it up. And now for this one, the first one we were able to do our wraps without adding anything to it first. This one we need to connect to our already existing segment. So we're just gonna take that and put it in there. And now you can do your wraps as normal. Okay, and trim. Now, if you find tucking to be hard to do when it's in this stage, you can always add your bead and then add your other wrap and go back and tuck all your ends at the very end. That's an option too. Okay, now we're gonna add our pretty little cube bead. I was really wanting to find a way of using these in a design because I just think they're so pretty. So here we go. Now we're gonna make a loop on this side as well. Again, just leave yourself a slight little gap and then push down, rotate up. And we do want to add our other little chain link in here again before we do our wrappings. And if the video sounds at all fuzzy, guys, that's actually a huge rainstorm outside. So I don't know if that's picking up too much or not, but we have a huge rainstorm. Okay, so there we've got that on there. And we're going to make sure we're holding that okay. You want to have a good grip on your loop when you do your wrappings. Okay, and then just wrap them around a couple times. When you're happy with it, again, just trim your tail and tuck your ends. And this will end up being something that you can do for so many other designs too. It's such a nice classic technique of connecting these together with wrapped wire loops and little chain links in between them. All right, so we've got our crystals all done. They're connected to our chain links, and now we just have to attach the bottom focal and the top earring hook. To connect the bottom focal, we're actually using an oval jump ring. And it's nice because it gives us a little bit more length than width. So we are going to open up that jump ring, same as any other jump ring. Just twist it, but you want it twisted pretty wide in this case because you need to get through the hole here on the Zola piece. So you're just gonna wiggle that guy in. And this does take a little bit of wiggling. So it's just a little wiggle until you've got that secure in there. Now you wanna add this bottom link that has the little loop to your jump ring as well, and just let it hang down there. So close up your jump ring. So this can be a little tricky just to get a good grip on it where it's not in the way. Okay, so we've closed that up. And now you've got your pieces all connected at the bottom. So now you need to go ahead and add your earring hook. So you do have a wrapped wire loop up here already. So you're gonna go ahead and connect it via the loop at the base of the earring hook. So you just go ahead, open up that loop, and then slip on your wrapped wire loop. And there's no front or back side to these earrings, so you don't have to worry that you're putting it on a certain way. So there you go. Now you've got your pretty earring done with the Zola Elements base and some little crystals and some chain links. So I love these for spring and summer. I think they're really fun. They're lightweight, they're sparkly, they're dangly. They're just a fun pair of earrings. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please check out our other ones here on YouTube and at beadaholique.com. And all the supplies, of course, are for sale at beadaholique.com. Thanks, everyone.